Good afternoon. Thank you for staying here today. I'm going to talk about some of the projects we've been doing at Upside Energy. So hopefully I'll go quite fast, but do catch me afterwards if you've got questions. So Upside Energy are an aggregator. So what we do is we have a cloud platform in the middle which has got very sophisticated algorithms, optimization, forecasting, etc. to make it clever. And what we do is we link devices or aggregate devices, and then we trade those that energy on the markets. And that energy, as Caroline pointed out, it could be the power markets, the ancillary services, I think you called it balancing services, or DNOs who are the local, they provide the local grid services. And that's what Upside does. We mainly work in the commercial and industrial side. So these are antennas that are supported with UPS batteries, and when those batteries aren't being used, we trade the services on the market for that organization and provide an income for them with very little asset-based infrastructure required in addition to what they have in place already. But I'm the Director of Innovation at Upside, and I want to talk about particularly about some of the innovation areas that we're working in, and the reasons we are innovating in this space are because of the development of the new markets that Caroline also referred to keep us at the forefront of the technology, to build relationships, and you'll see some of the relationships we have in place at the moment, and to drive industry and regulatory engagement. We have a number of different areas that we focus on, but I'm going to particularly talk about the domestic side of things and the electric vehicle side today. But if there's other areas, please let me know. So in the domestic electricity and heat, these are just three of the projects that we're working on. Desire is mainly Cornwall, London, a couple of places elsewhere. It's a 2-year project. We're in the second year at the moment. We're deploying hot water tanks and batteries with PV in 600 houses. We were then using that data to understand what the revenue streams might be, how we could stack those services, and then the sort of business models that might come out of it. The second project, Haze, is Heat as an Energy System, 2-year project, ERDF funded, in Manchester, mainly social housing. And one of the interesting things there is it's both a retrofit project, so how can we save energy through retrofitting homes, but also how can we earn money on the markets through aggregating the connected devices, whether it's heat pumps, batteries, PV. We're also looking at community energy in that and peer-to-peer, which is very promising. Another project called for Grid, that includes a HEMS, Home Energy Management System. And that really, we're looking at the whole value chain there, from supplier, DNO, DSO, all the way through. We're looking at regulation on that. So it's a nice, covers the whole market and value chain, which is good. So this is something about Pete, which is Desire. It's the commercial name. We've got Oxford involved, PowerVolt, the Eden project. And we have, I believe we have over 300 hot water tanks in the field now connected to or aggregated into our system. And we've got 100 batteries deployed. So we're collecting data at the moment to look at revenue streams. Hayes has just kicked off. It's Manchester social housing. So we've got the retrofitters, we've got Greater Manchester Council, and different social housing groups involved in that project. Call for Grid, we've got people like new home developers like Berkeley, as well as social housing providers like Gen2 involved in that. And then electric vehicles. So that's the domestic residential side. Electric vehicles. We have, I was going to talk about 4 projects. So V2Go is fleet. So how can we work with fleets to connect the energy provided from the EVs when they go back to the depots into the system? One of the peak times is say 4 till 7 in the evening when people switch on their heating, television, all their appliances. So if we could suggest that the fleets went back to base in time, could we then provide some balancing services across the network? So something we're exploring at the moment. GridServe, which is looking at forecourts. So if you need to charge your vehicle, instead of your petrol station, you have your electric charging. Where do we provide the energy that supports the charging in more remote sites? And do we put in batteries? Do we connect it up with private wires to PVs? The one I'll go into more detail is Vita Street. And then Haven, which is more vehicle to home. So rather than people buying their own batteries, assuming we all move to electric vehicles at some stage, can we use the battery in the car to power the home or to provide excess energy to the grid when it needs it, and then charge at a cheaper time of day? The Vita Street project is with an organisation called Ubitricity, and the idea is that I think 40% of the UK population don't have off-street parking, so we're looking at on-street and how do people charge their electric vehicles. So Ubitricity have a cable that can connect into standard lampposts. So no additional infrastructure is required at the street level. But obviously parking next to the lampposts is going to become an issue. So we're looking at behaviour change, customer preferences, the sort of times they would need to charge, and how we provide services that enable them and are beneficial for them to move their car after it's charged, or would it be beneficial and can it go into the local council and provide street lighting at night? So some of this is Haven, which is the vehicle to home. So we have a lot of projects, a lot of trials underway, very exciting areas which we're supporting at Upside. I think I want to just briefly mention some of our learnings, because what are we getting out of this from an organisation, and how can we take it forward? There is a regulations and infrastructure side of things. So we can't yet do some of the balancing services that Caroline spoke about. or any of the balancing services actually. So we need national grid support for that. We are running an NIA project, National Innovation Project, with National Grid to do another trial to look and explore the different alternatives there. But we can't do it now. The other thing is we can't export very much. So even if we had a fairly sophisticated electric vehicle, we can only export 3.68 at the moment, and that's an infrastructure problem for the DSO DNOs. Depends where you live, and you can request extra export, but it can take time. It can require extra infrastructure support. And partly because we can't do more, but the revenue streams are pretty difficult. It's hard to make a business case as it stands at the moment. So maybe, hopefully, battery costs will come down, and with a 10-year investment, we can begin to recover some of the upfront costs. People are beginning to look at things like energy as a service or heat as a service, particularly the suppliers, where perhaps they provide equipment like washing machines or fridges, and you buy comfort. And so that's something which a lot of suppliers seem interested in at the moment. Hopefully there will be new markets, not just the balancing mechanism, but also peer-to-peer, community, local energy. And those have to grow or become available for domestic EV charging to actually make sense. So at the moment, we're not there, and we probably won't be there for at least 2 years. In terms of deployment, we're learning a lot. Communications are critical. Having decent, if you're connecting up heat pumps or you're connecting up batteries, you need to have decent communications. Social housing, and the way we're building social housing with large metal infrastructure in the frames, we don't have good communications. And the other aspect that I just briefly want to mention is the different cultures. So we're a digital company. We're working with the building industry and with social housing organizations. Very different cultures. So when we want to connect up devices, and we're used to working fairly fast way, actually engaging with other cultures takes time and understanding and a lot of engagement.